Mic check one.
So get out of here with them weak ass shoes, yo.
Balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep in love. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep in love.
What's up, Balls Deep fam? To another episode of Balls Deep with Devin and Jovan. We appreciate you guys for tuning in because you already know this is Balls Deep, where we dive balls deep in hot stories in sports. If you're new to the program, my name is Devin. I'm joined by my co-host Jovan, and today is our bonus episode. So for our bonus episode, it's dropping on Memorial Day. So for the vets out there, happy Memorial Day. We appreciate you. But we're going to be talking about some soccer. We're fresh off the Champions League final. It was a wild ride to get to this final, and now we finally have a crowned champion. Chelsea, they defeated Man City 1-0 in a wild finish. I mean, I say wild finish because they added, 7 minutes to the end of regulation. So that I didn't see that one coming, but I gotta say it. But Jovan, you're right. When Nico was on the show, and we said, pick a team to win it all. You went with the underdog, and that was Chelsea, and Chelsea came out on top. And it's just some surprise, I guess, to some folks who doubted Chelsea throughout it all. But they came out on top, and they proved everyone wrong.
Yeah, no, it was pretty insane. It was pretty insane. I mean, their road there. We know we were saying that we felt as though they were one of the teams with maybe one of the easier roads. But we also did mention how like I said, there's really no easy games once you start getting so far into the Champions League. That's why all the teams are here. It's the best teams in the world, really, that are playing each other, and you have to beat all the other best teams in the world to get to where you are. So regardless of whether you have the easiest path or not, you have to get to the final. They got to the final. They had to face a team that was really stacked, a team that beat PSG. So obviously that tells you how good a team they are. If you're not familiar with soccer, but you are familiar a little bit with some of the teams or players, PSG is a great team. And City is obviously a lot more deep. They have a lot more depth as a team than almost any team we've seen, and so that's why they tend to be the heavily favored team in a lot of these tournaments. And Chelsea just came out and got it done, and a big part of that is obviously Tuchel kind of turned around. That's been the big story. I mean, this whole time. Can't even think about how many times we've mentioned his name throughout all of our Champions League episodes because he's a big reason why that team turned around. I mean, we saw how they were kind of, I believe, in like 9th or 10th place in their respective league in the Barclays Premier League. In the beginning before he took over, obviously didn't win it, but he ended up getting them into the top 4.
Yeah.
Now winning this Champions League is huge for them. And another big reason is Conte. I mean, Conte was huge for them. Obviously, he didn't score their lone goal in this final, but he won man of the match in both legs of the semifinal against Madrid, as well as the man of the match in this game because he was just everywhere. I mean, when you needed a stop, it felt like he was there. You know what I mean? He made every tackle that he needed to make. I mean, they were just outclassed. Man City was just outclassed ultimately. I mean,
yeah.
If you watch the game, they had a few good, a few promising, things happen in the beginning. Nothing, came out of it. They had a few promising chances, and then, they didn't kind of convert on them early. Aside from that, they really didn't get much going the whole game. Big reason for that is because of Conte. He was everywhere he needed to be. It's almost like he kind of knew where people were going to be before it happened because he was just he's playing so well. And so a well-deserved man of the match for him as well in that game, as well as, like I said, the 2 semifinal legs. So, but yeah, I mean, hats off to Chelsea. I was really happy to see them win. A big part of the reason I went with the underdog was obviously they were hot. They were playing so well, but, I know plenty of Chelsea fans. So it was good to see them kind of get back into glory. They're not a team that we're used to seeing win it so often. So it is good to see them get another one in the last few years. I was happy to see it though. It was definitely a great game. And
Yeah,
hats off to City as well. Hats off to City as well. I do want to give them props too. I mean, they played a great Champions League season as well as a Barclays Premier League season. So hats off to them. Obviously, it sucked that De Bruyne was taken off in the 55th minute, which is still pretty early in the game. That's only 10 minutes after halftime. It could have made a difference, but like I said, I mean, they weren't really doing much even with him there. Obviously, it could have been different. There's plenty of time, but you hate to see it happen. But I can't take anything away from Chelsea. They played phenomenal.
yeah. I mean, Chelsea completely outplayed them this match. I mean, it does suck that De Bruyne, got hurt because I guess you know more than I do. He's a big factor for Man City. He could have made that difference, but who's to say that it would have necessarily pushed them to win the match at that. But Chelsea, they give them credit, give Tuchel credit. He's a tactician, and he proved it. Just in this Champions League season itself. Like, he literally turned this program around. I just want to say, like, Denzel, shout out Denzel from the Expansion Pack podcast. He's a Chelsea fan. He mentioned, like, once they lost their star player, you probably know who I'm talking about. Once they lost him, he said he pretty much lost all hope. He didn't expect them to be here so soon. But Tuchel seemed to, have them he turned the program around and was able to, win this Champions League a lot sooner than people expected. This program to make. And then also Ed, our friend Ed, he pointed out, that it's just funny how that the team that debuts in their Champions in the first Champions League has lost every single time, and in this case, Man City this is the first time they made it to the final and they lost, and I believe PSG was on that note last year too. So it's just a coincidence on how things work. I guess you can say it's an experience on the biggest stage, but I was kind of thrown for a loop because this was it was my second year that I was watching the Champions League, but it was probably my first year that I, truly watched it from beginning to end and understood what was going on as much as possible. So it was just weird to see how every round had two legs, but then the final just had one leg, and should a tiebreaker break out, it would be penalty kicks. So I was thrown for a loop on that case, because I was totally expecting to have another match. But I find it dope. It's definitely dope. It's just basically winner takes all at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a fun tournament to watch. I mean, like I said, it's kind of like what they all wanted to do with the Super League. It's all the best teams coming together and playing in a tournament, really. I mean, it happens all season long because it's really from start to finish, because you have the qualifiers, and then after the qualifiers, you have, like, now you're gonna have the groups because they just changed the way it works. So now you have the groups and everything's kind of different now. But it's just all the best teams in the world coming together and to win this title. So it's definitely exciting to watch. And I'm glad you got to see it from beginning to end for the first time.
But so who was the player that Chelsea lost? He was like their star player.
I'm not 100% certain who he's talking about, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, so I might have to look it up my damn self, but I guess he left. I think it was Eden. Was it Hazard? Is that Hazard?
Eden Hazard?
Yeah, it's Eden Hazard. So I guess he said he didn't think they'd make it happen anytime soon, but fuck it. At that point.
I mean, yeah. I definitely can see where he's coming from. Eden Hazard was probably Chelsea's best player for quite a few years, but at the same time, there wasn't much that they were getting done with him. Who knows?
Yeah,
so
I guess
they won now that he's gone. So
maybe he comes back.
Like they're probably, I doubt it. They're probably better as a team for it, though. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're probably team chemistry wise, they probably got it together because they don't have the star player that focus their offense or whatever around their strategy. They don't have that to strategize around. It almost reminds me of obviously there's a star player, but it's almost like the Warriors, for example. Like they play team ball. Although they have Steph to bring them over the hump, they play team ball. They pass the ball a lot.
Yeah.
I'm
I
trying to think
mean,
of other teams that don't really have a star player, but they succeed. I guess you could say the Knicks
yeah.
this year. They don't really have a star player, but they use team ball to get to the playoffs, and obviously exceed expectations.
Yeah, no, but just like you said, I mean, Tuchel's a tactician as well. I mean, he's a great coach. We saw what he did. We saw what he did here. I mean, he completely turned the team around. A lot of people think even when he was with PSG, he was kind of overachieving over there. So, I mean, he's not a scrub coach. I
Yeah.
mean, he knows what he's doing, and he put his players really in a great position to go out there and win. That was clear as day from the start of his tenure with Chelsea to now. I mean, it's not over yet, obviously,
Yeah.
but
So I guess I was gonna wait to the end to mention it, but I guess we mentioned it now since you mentioned it. But like Tuchel, we mentioned that he's turned this program around and what have you. But like, do you like how should PSG feel now that he's led Chelsea to a Champions League championship? Like, how should they feel having got rid of him last year? Or I guess you can say getting rid of him so soon, and not having the opportunity to win under his belt.
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if I'm PSG, I'm kind of, beating myself up for it. I'm kind of kicking myself right now because, I mean, like I said, like I mentioned before, I mean, he a lot of like one of his older assistants, from PSG actually came out after he was sacked by PSG and came out and said that he thought or he felt like, it was kind of a bit of a surprise because he felt like I said, he felt like he overachieved over there as PSG's coach. I mean, he won the league back to back, and he won the Coupe de France, and the Coupe de la Ligue in 2020, and also, you know, they got rid of him 4 months, just 4 months after him having brought them to the final
Yeah.
in the last Champions League. So it definitely came as a bit of a surprise. I'm not really sure why they did it, but they're definitely kicking themselves now after having been eliminated by City, especially, and then their old coach kind of coming out and having beaten the team that just eliminated them. It would have definitely been a story for the ages had PSG made it against Chelsea and then maybe even lost to Chelsea themselves. That would have been quite a bit of a story after obviously having Tuchel face his old team with his newer squad and then coming out and beating them if that were to happen. Obviously, it didn't happen that way, but yeah, I mean, if I'm PSG, I'm kicking myself right now because just to see that your coach was able to do it with a different squad that honestly wasn't even as talented, or not even as talented. I mean,
I
they
would
won
I
the
want to say
Champions League.
the roster wasn't as top heavy, right? Because
Yeah, I
PSG
mean,
clearly has the stars.
they didn't have not even that. I just didn't have the
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
stars.
That's what I mean by top heavy.
Both teams are great. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, just the superstar talent that you have over in PSG, and then to see that he was able to go over to Chelsea and kind of do it with less is it kind of sucks for them.
And that's what I mean by top heavy. Is when I mean top heavy, I mean the stars. That he doesn't have the Neymar or the Mbappe over with Chelsea, but he has depth over there with Chelsea, and that's kind of what caused them to win it this year. But if I'm as a PSG fan, I'm obviously a new fan at that, so I'm not as knowledgeable as like other fans you can say. But from what I know, um, I wouldn't regret the decision. And as much as that might, be crazy, I think the move was a right move for both parties. Um, it didn't really seem like a fit with Tuchel with PSG, not because of what he was doing on the field. On the field, what he was doing was fantastic. Obviously, besides the slow start, um, but it was more so off the field. From the club owner or the club leader or the club director. Him and Tuchel didn't seem to get along, or they weren't really on the same page. So in terms of success for the club, it didn't really seem like they were on the same page. So it wasn't really gonna work out. Whereas because Tuchel wanted to make some moves, and the director wasn't on the the same page, so it just didn't happen. So for me, although Tuchel is a really good coach, and he proved it, I think it was the right decision to let him go, and I think having him go elsewhere, and have the opportunity to coach Chelsea was great for him. He proved his worth in a sense. It just sucks because obviously he was expecting to take the year off or the season off, and that job opened up, and he pretty much had to leave his family behind. So he's been over in England by himself. So and it's tough, but I'm happy for him. But as for PSG though, it does kind of sting because you were just in the finals with this guy, and then now this year you don't make the finals, you make the semifinals, and the team that you lost to your former coach. So it definitely does sting. But it'll definitely gain more scrutiny if they go ahead and win another big championship. Not necessarily just Champions League, but if they go ahead and win another big championship or a big event, they'll definitely gain more scrutiny on the decision to let him go. But they might even gain more scrutiny as of late because I believe their coach that they replaced Tuchel with is talking about possibly leaving. So that might suck because now they might be looking for another manager when they already had a really good one, should they have treated him correctly to begin with.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, again, like you said, it'd definitely be more scrutiny if, like you said, if he goes out there and wins another big title. I mean, I'm just curious. I'm even just as curious to see, even as far as next, Premier League season. The Barclays Premier League is, one of the harder leagues to win. Everybody says it. England has probably the hardest league.
Tuchel's already talked about it.
Yeah, 100%. The hardest league, and the way he was able to turn it around for them and go from 9th to 4th. I mean, just imagine what he's able to do in a full season with them, which, that's going to be huge. Being able to kind of build up more of a rapport with your team, being able to build that, team and coach chemistry as well as the player chemistry.
I think coming off of the championship definitely helps, though.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like I said, I mean, getting a whole season to just, try to win some games because obviously I can't say that if he was there from the beginning of the season they would have won it all. But, I mean, I think that, him going from the place that they were in all the way to the top 4 is definitely enough to at least say it was more than doable.
Yeah.
So, I'm definitely excited to see what that's like next season. If they're capable of making another nice, Champions League run, maybe they don't win it, but a nice Champions League run, and even winning the Premier League, that's huge in itself. So
yeah, he's already talked about coaching, the difference between coaching PSG and Chelsea thus far. Obviously, with his tenure with Chelsea, it's their league. It's much harder in terms of competition. Yes. He says you can't really sleep over there in England because you're always on your toes and you're always trying to figure out how to wiggle your way to victory, or you can say but he's a tactician. I think he's meant for these kind of opportunities, and he's proved it thus far. I think coming off this Champions League win, it'll only build camaraderie, build team chemistry, build trust in his coaching ability. So I do think that this is a perfect way to start off his tenure. But definitely. In regards to PSG, I do think letting him go is premature. And I mentioned obviously him and the director not being on the same page. I think that having a slow start gave the PSG director or the club itself opportunity to get rid of him. Like they were like, "Oh, this is our window of opportunity to just get rid of him, just because he's underperforming at that." So we actually have some sort of reason, but a lot of the slow start had to do with injury. Like there's injuries where he was starting to have to play the players out of position and things of that nature. So it kind of hurt. It kind of hurt him, and it doesn't really make sense. It's like almost like if the Patriots were to have fired Bill Belichick off of this past year. Like, you just don't do it. Like, he's built... Like, obviously, Belichick's been with the Patriots for a lot longer, but like he's a tactician too. He's a proven coach, and due to injuries or what have you, you go ahead and fire somebody that you most likely wouldn't have been able to replace on like the same caliber.
No, I mean it's funny you say that though, but soccer is a little bit different. Obviously, I know you're kind of a newer fan. Even myself, I'm not as knowledgeable as a lot of other guys. But I mean, so in soccer, the turnarounds for coaches are a lot different. There's not a lot of coaches that tenure very long. I mean, there are coaches that tenure very long for some clubs, but a lot of these big clubs are, have coaches for maybe 2, 3, 4 years, and then they're the next guy's up. Even you could be fresh off a Champions League and one bad season, the next season, and a Champions League win, one bad season, the next season the team's already thinking maybe we should try to replace him, because that's how easily it is to kind of lose a team in soccer as well. I mean, you could come straight off of a Champions League and you might not do anything the next season, but it is what it is. I mean, that's how soccer is.
Really doesn't have an off season.
Yeah, definitely not. But I mean, good on him for kind of turning it around and making the most of this opportunity with Chelsea, and I'm excited to see what he's capable of, kind of building with them in the future, because to be able to do this, I think it was just very underrated to come out here and win this, because like you said from the beginning, I mean, nobody expected it, so. It's a lot bigger than I think people really, at first thought when you're thinking about it. It's not that big, but it really is impressive.
For sure. And speaking of impressive, Pulisic. He's the first American player to not only play but win the UCL. So he's made history. He's obviously. It's groundbreaking in itself. Unfortunately, he didn't start, which he would have been the first American player to start, play, and win it. But he obviously, played a big factor in or big reason why Chelsea reached the final to begin with in terms of his contributions. He contributed a goal and an assist in the two legs semifinal series against Real Madrid. So he played a big factor there. People question on why he didn't start the final to begin with, and Tuchel came out and basically said that he wanted him to come off the bench and set a pace. He's a fast-paced player, and he believed that he could bring some scoring off the bench, and that's why he put him in, I believe, with 20 minutes remaining in the final. So now you're up 1-0, but you're pushing the pace on Man City to obviously now not only try to score a goal, but to defend as well. So he definitely played a big factor in the reason why they made it there or made it that far. But he also contributed in the final, whether it was even though he didn't actually score a goal. So you got to give credit to the man. But in terms of why he didn't start, under Tuchel, he started 13 games or 13 matches, and he came off the bench 13. And it could be due to injury. Who knows? But he obviously expressed frustrations with the decision of Tuchel basically starting him and then putting him on the bench every so often. But at the end of the day, he got the job done. So I'm pretty sure he's happy that they came away with the Champions League title.
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, when you're a player on that level, you want to play. Everybody wants to be on the field, so it's completely understandable. But I mean, we mentioned already. I mean, Tuchel knows what he's doing. He's a tactician. He's a very great coach. He's won the Champions League with this team for a reason. He knows what he's doing. It was a surprise to a lot of people that when Pulisic wasn't playing or starting, because he was playing so well for Chelsea. But again, I mean, he was able to come off the bench and set the pace for them. He almost scored a goal in the final. He missed it wide left just a bit. So he did play well. He did do exactly what they needed him to do coming off the bench, clearly, because he gave them some extra chances. Obviously, like I said, the game ended 1-0, so after that first goal, not much happened. I mean, there was a lot of good chances, but there was no goal scoring, obviously. So, but coming on and just being able to get that chance like that was huge for them. And again, it's nice to see that he's a U.S. men's national team player. He's an American, first ever to play, first ever to win. But it's cool for me to see that he's not just you know just a guy there. Like obviously, like like City even has a U.S. men's national team player. He's their goalkeeper. He's their backup goalkeeper. And he's U.S. men's national team's number one goalkeeper, but he's City's backup. So he's not really seeing the field much, obviously, unless their goalkeeper's unhealthy, which obviously doesn't happen as often. But so it's just cool to see a player that obviously he's not just simply on the roster, as impressive as it is Zach Steffen being on that roster. But it's cool to see that he's not just on the roster, but he also has a big hand to play in what they're doing. So it was just pretty cool for me to see. And like you said, he had that goal in the first leg, I believe it was, of the semifinal. So, and he had a few assists as well. So he's been really big for Chelsea. And it's just cool to see that, as American doing big things in one of the biggest leagues, or two of the biggest leagues, because Premier League and Champions League. So, doing some big things in two of the biggest leagues is good for, American soccer. Hopefully it gets a little bit more eyes on, on the television screen when soccer comes out in America, because it's probably the least, the country where this sport's least popular. But in my opinion, it's a great sport, and it's cool to get more fans involved, just like it is you. I mean, I know you're watching more, so it's dope to see a little bit more eyes paying attention to it. Hopefully that bolsters down the future of American soccer to kind of be able to compete with the rest of the world internationally.
So I have a question.
Level.
So Tuchel, before he coached PSG, what team did he coach? Wasn't it like Dortmund?
I'm not sure. You probably
because
right,
I believe Pulisic played under Tuchel before. So I'm interested to see how he manages, obviously, Pulisic and his minutes moving forward after the Champions League. Because people question whether Pulisic had a lingering injury or something, and that's why his minutes were being managed. So maybe obviously moving forward he'll be healthier, and obviously he'll be on the field to start, and obviously be on the field for the majority of the game. If not, I'm interested to see how that works, because obviously he expressed frustration coming off the bench, especially being as big of a player as he is. So I wonder if he's willing to, obviously, in basketball terms, be that sixth man off the bench, or be the first. But in soccer, be the first man off the bench.
The 12th.
Yeah, be the 12th man off the bench. He obviously be the first guy. They look to for obviously goals and shit like that. Basically, be the leader, the captain of the bench, which I don't think he'll accept long term. Obviously, short term, he'll do what the team needs, but long term, he's obviously has his goals set in being a starter and obviously being the best player on the team. He might not be the best player on the team, but that's his goal in a sense. All right, so I guess we'll shift over and talk about Conte. The man of the match, the man of Chelsea at this point. you mentioned it earlier. He was the man of the match for the semifinals. He was the man of the match for the finals. He didn't score the goal, obviously, but he played a big factor. He was all over the field. So he's played very well for Chelsea, whether that be for Champions League or even I believe they're in Premier. So he's just played very well. So my question to you is he their new Eden Hazard? Is he their new star player in terms of moving forward?
I mean, he's definitely their star player, but he's a lot different than Eden Hazard in a lot of ways. Eden Hazard's a very high pace striker, but high pace in the sense that he's a very. I mean, Eden Hazard's one of the fastest guys in soccer.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that he's very fast. And he plays fast. I mean, but he's different in the sense that because Conte is a midfielder, and he can do a lot more than just kind of get you goals. And even Hazard was kind of, not getting goals. I mean, he was kind of struggling even doing that for Chelsea. I mean, he was a huge part of that team for a few years, but he could never really take them to the next level. I think Conte has the opportunity to kind of do that. I mean, people were comparing him to a lot of really good midfielders and from past days. I mean, they're comparing him to guys like Xavi and Iniesta, which are some of the best midfielders we've ever seen in the game of soccer. So, I mean, that's huge in itself to compare him to guys like that. But that's exactly how he's playing. So, he's definitely their next star. I mean, he's not. I wouldn't even say next. He's their star. He's already here. I mean, obviously he showed up when he's needed to. Especially in these last few games in this Champions League. So he's not their next star. He is their star. He's their superstar. I mean, he's playing really well, and like I said, it was almost as if he knew everything that was going to happen because he knew where he needed to be to make certain tackles, to make certain stops, and that's the big reason why we've seen a team that's as deep as City not get as many chances as we're used to seeing them get. I mean, it's because of him. He's there to bolster down that midfield. He's the extra layer of defense. He's also, kind of the catalyst in attacking because the midfield is such an integral part of soccer.
Because
it's one of the most.
You have to play offense and defense, don't you?
I mean, some. I mean, it depends on the tactics and stuff. I mean, there's central defensive mids, there's center attack mids. So there are mids that do. But I mean, he's more in the sense of a guy that's going to be able to give you a lot of everything.
Gotcha.
And that's just how he is, and that's what's so good about him is he's capable of kind of giving you a lot.
But the reason why I obviously drew comparisons to Hazard, obviously I wasn't talking about them being the same stylistic of having the same stylistic as a player or same style as a player. I was referring to obviously Hazard was their star player at some point.
100%.
Is Conte like the next coming or the new star in Chelsea moving forward? And you went ahead and you obviously answered it. It kind of just seemed evident at this point with him being man of the match for the semifinal and the final. It seems like he's coming to his own in a sense, especially under Tuchel. I think Tuchel's allowing him to tap into more of his potential than he already has in the past. Not saying that he wasn't a star before Tuchel got there, but he's definitely he's definitely blossoming under his control, which is really it's almost it's almost like Julius Randle this season. It is like we knew he had potential, but now he's like really blossoming. And in a sense, Conte's probably better than Julius Randle in soccer terms. But,
well, he's showing up.
Well, when it matters most, for sure. He's showing up. So. But it's really nice to see like what coaching can possibly do to a player and his development.
No, definitely. No, you're completely correct on that, and I mean, you're like I said, 100% right. But I mean, ultimately, he's definitely their next star. He's already kind of, like I said, not even next. He's already here. So, but it's great to see. I mean, it's great to see, like you said, him blossoming under Tuchel, but in general, Chelsea blossoming under Tuchel. I mean, it's really, like I said, it makes me happy to see it. Chelsea is a very a very honorable club. Not a team that I mean, obviously they're one of the better clubs, especially one of the better clubs in England and around the world. But it's good to see them in glory. It's not a team that you're used to seeing every single year in positions like this. So it's nice when they're capable of getting the job done. Like this.
Question.
Yeah.
For the World Cup, who won the most recent World Cup?
Oh well, it's France.
And he's on. Isn't he on France?
Yes. So, and no, 100%. And that was something that I was actually gonna touch on a little bit as well. Is the fact that he, I mean, they said he went from going, from a low level French league team, I believe it was, and now he's he just won a World Cup. He won a Europa League and he won a Champions League all in the span of just a few years. So, I mean, obviously Conte's having a huge, kind of stretch of his career for him right now, winning all these titles kind of back to back to back in a way. Like I said, in the last few years alone, winning all three of those. So, and like I said, being one of the best players on his respective teams for each of those. I mean, it's not like he's just some guy on the roster. He's playing really well. So this is a big stretch in his career for him. And like I said, when you see a guy that's kind of come a long way from where he used to be and kind of doing what he needs to and just playing really well, it's cool to see.
So he was on the French team with Mbappe?
Yes.
Oh, nice. I see France coming through heavy. But so did he play? Did he have like a huge contribution to like them winning the World Cup?
To them winning this, I'm not sure.
So I didn't really hear much about him until Champions League, but obviously, he's probably made noise outside of like Champions League prior. But Mbappe definitely got more recognition for when they won.
Yeah.
Basically, this Champions League is more of a coming out party in a sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you ask if he had a hand, he definitely had a hand, but at a level in which he had the same hand in Chelsea kind of winning this tournament, I won't say that. You know what I mean? So I mean that France team in general is really good. That's why they won. You know what I mean? But to the level of what he did here, definitely not. You know what I mean? So when you ask that, I mean, I guess the answer is not at that same level, but he definitely had, had an impact.
He's only 30.
And 100%. And a player like that is going to have an impact.
He's only 30, too, so he's still got some years ahead of him as well. So, obviously, if you're Chelsea, you galvanize behind him, and hopefully, like, under Tuchel's, threshold, he continues to develop into the star player that he's becoming. And hopefully next World Cup, for his sake, he plays a bigger contribution to, obviously, France's success. Not saying that he hasn't made a big contribution at all, but hopefully he just gets better from here and obviously takes over. For my guy Mbappe, hopefully, I hope otherwise. I hope Mbappe is the leader of that threshold, or that team. But
he'll always be the leader of that France threshold for quite some time. He's very, very young. And I mean, as good as Conte is, not taking away from him, Mbappe's kind of a different story.
Conte could be the Robin to his Batman. Okay.
Conte's really good. Conte's really, really good. No doubt about that. But Mbappe is another level. He's great. I mean, I don't want to take shine off of Conte because, like I said, he's the winner here in this what we're talking about.
Yeah, I was just bringing him up as a joke.
But Mbappe, I mean, he's just another level. I mean, he's on the levels of the Messi's and Ronaldo, so it's a little bit of a different story.
There definitely is a big difference though too, because Mbappe is 22, so he's this talented as it is, so he's obviously got more years to flourish. But
that's what I mean. He's going to be there for quite some time.
But Conte, this definitely was his coming out party. If I have to say, but so hopefully he just continues to obviously blossom. But to move on to our last topic, you mentioned this to me. Ibrahimovic, he's back with Milan, and he helped them into obviously qualifying for the Champions League next year. So, like, is it a coincidence that they missed it for so long while he was gone, and as soon as he returns, bada boom, bada bing, and they're back in it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence. The fact that they haven't made a Champions League since the 2013-14 season, and now, I mean, Ibrahimovic joins their team, and they're back in it. But obviously, I mean, I don't know how much of a role it played. I won't say that he's the sole reason for this happening, but clearly, we see the clear, indications that he played a role. I mean, he played very well for them, and kind of being able to make this Champions League next year. But also, I mean, we saw what he was capable of doing, even in in US's league, which obviously is way different. US's league is way different than anything international because, like I mentioned before, the US soccer, US soccer competition isn't as great. But when you have an all-time great like Ibrahimovic, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I won't say it doesn't matter because it matters. Obviously, he's not physically as capable as he once was, and that's huge. Obviously, especially a guy like him who's just always been kind of a freak. I mean, the guy's tall as hell. He's fast. He's one of the best players we've ever seen. That's what I'm saying. But when you have a guy like that, it doesn't matter if he doesn't not any longer have the physical capabilities. He still has the IQ. He's still a very smart player. He can still fit.
He better
can still,
at 39.
So that's what I'm saying. He could still fit in your team. He could still, fit your tactics and kind of help you win soccer games. And that's exactly what Milan needed him to do. And you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not going to go out there and say he's the sole reason, but I don't think there's any coincidence to the fact that he joins and now they're requalifying for the first time since, like I said, 2014. So there's definitely no coincidence there.
Yeah, he was last with them. He was last with the team, I think, in 2012. So even at 39, he's still playing at a high level. So it's crazy. Like you mentioned, he's a freak. But dude is super talented. I would hope that his experience at 39 years old would bring really high IQ to the field. He's almost like having an on-field coach at that point. Obviously, you mentioned him going to the U.S. He's playing, lesser talent at that. Not to take much away from the U.S. Soccer League, but it's true. So he lost some years, obviously, where he could have been playing internationally, but it is what it is. I mean, he's back and he's ready to win.
No, yeah, definitely. But like I said, I mean, he's always going to be a very good player regardless of where he goes, just because he's so talented. But it's really good to see. I mean, I feel like just the fact that they kind of expanded the Champions League and added a lot more teams, which then added a lot more games, like we kind of discussed with Nico before, how they're changing the format of it. I think that in general kind of would have gave them obviously a higher chance of making it regardless. So maybe that's the reason that they requalify for the first time since that year. Is due to the fact that it was expanded. But nevertheless, they qualified now, and they have a chance at, at least gearing up to make a run, something that they haven't been able to do for years now. So, I mean, hats off to them. Congrats to them, and, congrats to Ibrahimovic to kind of still being able to play at a not the high level we're used to seeing him, because he's such a talented player. I mean, it's hard to really do that for so long. And, I mean, he's not even probably half as good. I mean, he was disgusting. He's probably not half as good a player as he used to be, but he's still really, really smart, really, really talented guy. So it's
I have a question. So how does this work? So they qualify for next year, right? So, the team that qualified, everyone on the team then plays next year, or can they make adjustments, obviously, up until next year? Let's say make additions in the offseason. So let's say a star player is available, and they go out and sign him. Would he then play for them in the qualifier next year?
Yeah. No, I mean, your roster, any roster changes you have from here on to then is, anybody that's on your roster is capable of playing in next year's tournament. So it has nothing to do with anything like that, because you get a transfer over the summer. He's on your roster now. He's playing in that. Champions League next year. So it doesn't matter. They can still add people. I mean, there are plenty of every team. It's actually more common than it isn't that, teams even change their rosters from league play to, Champions League play even. So, you might have a team that, you might have your team look one way for your Premier League or for La Liga or whatever Serie A, whatever league you're playing in, you might look one way when you're playing in your league. As soon as you get to Champions League, your coach might change your squad up. He might have different starters. He might not have guys even on the squad. So, it definitely changes. It definitely changes. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. I just had to ask just so I could get a better understanding. But that's all. That's all we have, or that's all I have to say. So, do you have anything else to add? If not, you want to close this out?
No, it was dope. It was a dope Champions League season. I'm glad I got to follow along this season a little bit. I've been trying to keep up with soccer a lot more lately. obviously it was something that I was getting into a few years ago, but I'm trying to get back more into it, a lot more, so we could talk about it. It was dope to have an episode where we just get to talk about the final and kind of everything that transpired with that. Because it's fun to talk about soccer, and soccer is, like I said, it's a fun sport, so it's dope
It's
to watch.
worldwide.
I love talking about it. It's the biggest sport in the world, so that's why, I feel like it's important to talk about it. It's dope to see that, more Americans in general are getting into it, so that our soccer leagues can kind of become that much better. But yeah, I mean, it's dope. I'm glad we got to talk about some Champions League final. It was definitely a great game. So, but again, like I said, congrats to Chelsea, and hats off to Man City for having a good tournament, and better luck for them next year.
Yep, and to finish this off, you already know. Show some love. You already know. Show some love to our social media page, especially our polls of the week. Isaiah's, been asking some really good questions. We're asking for your interaction. Go right ahead. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe if you haven't already, and go comment on our either videos or post our polls of the week. Doesn't matter. We just want to interact with you guys. So you obviously you do your part. We got you on our end. We promise. The faster you help us grow, the faster we can help contribute in terms of giving you guys another award. And that's with another raffle, obviously. But obviously, what helps us grow is you guys sharing our posts, downloading our audio, or what have you. But we appreciate you guys for the love that you guys showed thus far, and go spread that love to our guys at the Expansion Pack Podcast if you haven't already. They're a gaming podcast where they drop some knowledge within the gaming world, and obviously it all comes with some laughs. So if they have some no content like humor over there, where it's just like you gotta say some pause. You gotta say pause way too often.
No, definitely.
They caught me in 4K, yo.
Nah, yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, like Devin said, like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. It cannot stress that enough. Like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate the love as always. Just keep showing it. Keep interacting with us. We'd like to see your opinions on what we talk about more than anything, because it makes it that much more interesting to us to know that, one, I mean, we obviously know people are watching it. We see the views and stuff. But I think the biggest thing is, being able to, to see, how people feel about it. To hear directly from you guys and hear, like, your opinions. It's cool. Regardless of whether you agree with us or not, it's cool to have a little bit of a debate even in our comment section, or even a little conversation, give out your opinion. It's really dope to see different perspectives on sports, because there's so many, different takes to have. So it makes us enjoy recording this so much more when we get those interactions. And like he said, I mean, go show some love to Expansion Pack Podcast. They are hilarious. They talk about a lot of different things in gaming. They talk about, they don't just talk about all the news in gaming, but they talk about, what they're playing. They talk about, new games that are coming out, games that they would like to see come out. They have different icebreakers where they ask questions that, may not have anything to do with a game that's out already, but if this were to happen, what would you like to see? So they have a lot of different interactive stuff as well. That's really fun.
Yeah.
I think
they talk about entertainment, because they talk about like adaptations. So like
100%.
Mortal Kombat, it's a game. It was a game at first, but it turned a movie. They talked about that too. So,
they're a very fun podcast. They're very funny. Manny or Goo Master Flex from that podcast actually has a no context gaming page as well. So for gaming fans, they're definitely very fun to watch. So show them some love.
Yeah, for sure. But as for us, just give us some feedback. We obviously want to grow and get better at what we're doing. We have fun doing what we're doing as it is. But the better we get, the further we can get, and we can't get any further without you guys, the fans, the fam, the Balls Deep fam, as I like to call it. But your feedback helps us in a sense, and that allows us to provide you guys with content that you guys truly want to hear. So if there's ways for us to grow, let us know. If there's things you want to hear,
bars.
If there's things that you want to hear from us, let us know. We're trying to drop some gems, but in order for us to, provide you guys with what you guys are asking for, we need to know. So we're kind of just going with obviously the hottest stories, but if there's stuff that you guys want to talk about specifically, we're here for it. Just let us know.
Definitely.
But with that being said, until next time, peace.
Deuces.
You're talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep. We're talking about balls deep in love. I'm talking about balls deep. My boy's talking about balls deep. We're talking about balls deep in love.